I'm going to start in the Fabric environment here. And this is my automation workspace that I have set up for my SAP data integration. And you can see here I have a lakehouse. I also have a mirrored database that I'm going to use in this demonstration. And I also can have semantic models and other things in here. So for this demonstration, I'm going to focus on the mirrored database that exists here as a separate object. Yeah, so Microsoft has put this a little bit outside of the lakehouse itself. We do, I think we mentioned it earlier, also integrate with the lakehouse in the format of files. Yeah, so you can replicate any data as Parquet files, JSON files, CSV files into the lakehouse. And then also put them into the Delta table format in the lakehouse from there. What we're talking about here today is our change data capture capabilities that will auto-replicate the changes into a mirrored database. So let's move over to our mirrored database. I have a customer data set here from SAP. I called it customer Delta. And this very much looks like a standard SQL database. Yeah, I have different tables based on different SAP data extracts, including my customer Delta here. Further down below, you could actually take a look at the uploaded files. This is what we earlier talked about, the landing zone. So this is where we place the files, and then the replication process in Fabric takes care of the merging into the actual tables. You also see at the top there's a way to stop the entire replication. That means the mirrored database functionality would stop synchronizing the data. You can at any point restart that, and then the process will continue to run. The other thing I can do here in Fabric is I can switch to a SQL Analytics endpoint that allows me to work with the data. This could be from any of the workloads that we discussed earlier. This could be for data analytics. This could be for visualizations in Power BI. All kinds of use cases are available to me through these endpoints. So we're looking at the same table here. I can also get a view into the schema of this table. And I'm just bringing in a few customer fields from the SAP table. So let's switch over to Xtract Universal, our data extraction tool for SAP data. Tyler just introduced the tool, including its different data extraction types for SAP. I'm going to focus this demonstration on table CDC. So what I have set up here is a data extract that I also called customer Delta here, using the table CDC component against an S4HANA system. I think there was one or two questions about, is this available for S4HANA? Yes, definitely. This is available for S4HANA as well as ECC. You can use this table CDC function, and I'm connected as my destination to a Fabric mirror database. So let's first take a look at how this is set up, this table CDC functionality. It's pretty easy to set up. You basically pick a table. In my case, I chose KNA1. This can also be a transactional table, AC.DOCA, VBAK, what have you. It works with any table. And then my CDC status is initialized now. This is always the first step that you do. You basically, after you pick the table, you run this data extract once to initialize it. Once it's initialized, change tracking continuously happens in SAP. I could close this entire environment. I could shut down this server. Change tracking would continue. It is not interrupted in the SAP system. Over here, I'm choosing what fields do I want to pull from my change data. So I only selected some of the customer relevant fields. In this case, I didn't need the whole data set, but you can also choose everything, of course. There was also a question around how do you deal with initial loads? So there's an option. It's grayed out now because I already have this initialized, but there's an option initially that you could set for extract the table on first run, meaning extract the entire table on first run. I've actually done this initially over here to populate this table. In that case, we will insert the entire data set into the mirrored database, and the tool, the component, will automatically switch then to only replicate the changes going forward. Yeah, so you don't have to uncheck or go back here or do anything. That happens automatically. Now, we recommend to do this only if you have smaller to mid-sized tables. If you have very large tables, let's say millions of rows, it's better to separate these two processes. So you would do the historic or full load using the table component, and you can do this in multiple chunks, if you will. And then at the same time, you can initialize a table CDC component on the same table, and then merge the changes into that same table. So that's possible to use both components for these two use cases. So this is a pretty simple setup, and I want to briefly show also the destination setup. This data extract is connected to the Fabric Mirror database. If I look at my destination and see how this is configured, what you do here is to authenticate. You go into your Azure Cloud Portal and you find your tenant and client ID and authenticate using that, using those two IDs. And then all you have to do is specify the landing zone. So that's available from this environment here. If I go back a step here, if I look at my mirrored database automation, I think I'm in the wrong screen right now. But when you set up the mirrored database, there's a property up here that you can simply copy and paste, which represents the landing zone of your Fabric Mirror database. So that's all you need. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to introduce a change in our S4 system. We're going to choose two customer records. Let's choose this customer underscore LO8. And we're going to introduce a change that we know is represented in table KNA1. For instance, on the general data tab, I have the company name. I also have the street address, for instance, here. Where's my street? Okay, I don't see that here. So I'm going to change the name.
I think you just scroll by it. So.
Yeah, so I'll just change the name to Inc. And then let's choose another company, maybe L10. Same idea here. Let's change this one to Main Street, for example, 200 or something. Yeah, so we introduced two changes on two customer records. What we'll do next now is we will run this data extraction on the CDC object. You as the customer determine how often you want to run that. And maybe you have different requirements depending on what the table is. Some change data captures, you want to synchronize maybe every 5 or 10 minutes because you need a real-time data set. For others, it might be sufficient to run it maybe once an hour or twice a day or something. So the tool is very flexible there. You can have different intervals in terms of what the data source is, and have different intervals on different source tables. So I'm going to run this now. I should see two records, sorry. Two rows were extracted, and the data is now being placed on the landing zone. And I'm going to do a refresh here on my, here is the landing zone, by the way. I'm going to switch back to my SQL endpoint. and go back to my customer table. There it is. And if I sort this, and I look at my two customers, it was LO8 versus D Tools. That's now 1000 Main Street. And I think I just changed this to Inc. And I changed this one to 200 Main Street. Yeah, so the data was updated. It was merged automatically into an existing customer data set, and it happened within seconds. Yep, so that was a brief demo of Xtract Universal, our tool, how you can do change data capture against your SAP ERP source, and how the data is instantly merged into the Fabric mirroring database.